सदा शिव समारंभां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै शान्ति शान्ति Om Tat Sat, Om Namah Shivaya. Good morning, everybody. Happy New Year to all of you all.
Thank you.
Okay, so we will chant the 69th verse. We had finished the 60th verse. So please unmute yourself. Chapter 2, verse number 69. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Ya Nisha Sarva Bhutanam Tasyam Jagarti Sanyami Yasyam Jagrati Bhutani Sa Nisha Pashyato Munehe. Okay, so first let's look at the grammar. Ya Nisha Sarva Bhutanam Tasyam Jagarti Sanyami. So please note the difference in pronunciations between the Jagarti here and the Jagrati there. Okay, so there is no difference in the meaning, but its pronunciations are different for the purpose of the meter, the chanda. Jagarti Sanyami. Yasyam Jagrati Bhutani Sanisha Pashyato Munehe. And the Anvaya will be Ya Sarva Bhutanam Nisha Kama Tasyam Sanyami Jagarti. Full stop. Ya Sarva Bhutanam Nisha Tasyam Sanyami Jagarti. Full stop. Yasyam Bhutani Jagrati Kama Sa Pashyataha Munehe Nisha. Yasyam Bhutani Jagrati Kama Sa Pashyataha Munehe Nisha. And the meanings. Ya, that which Sarva Bhutanam, for all beings, Nisha. So you have to add over here in brackets Eva. Ya Sarva Bhutanam Nisha Eva. That which is for all beings like Nisha. Nisha means darkness or night. So that which is for all beings like the night, Tasyam, in that night, in that darkness, Sanyami. Sanyami here, Sanyam generally means disciplined. So here it can be taken as Jnani. Sanyami is the Jnani, the wise person. So in that night, Sanyami Jagrati. Sanyami is Jagrati, is awake. Okay, so that is the first sentence. In that which is like night for all others, the Jnani is awake. And Yasyam, in that Bhutani Jagrati, in which all other beings are awake, Sa, that Nisha Eva is like night, Munehe, for the wise man, for the wise man, Pashyataha. Munehe Pashyataha means the wise man who sees clearly. So very involved meaning. The literal meaning is, in that which is night for all beings, the wise man is awake. And in that in which all beings are awake. That is the night for the wise person. So this, as you can see, some people are actually holding their head. So as you can see, that is is the purpose of this verse. So, okay, you really cannot understand. So this, have I told you about Granthi slokas? Do you know what a Granthi sloka is? Did we discuss this in the past?
Yes.
So what is a Granthi?
Sir.
No, sir.
We have not discovered the Granthi
In the
sloka.
TTC, yes.
In the TTC, yes, we have discussed. Okay. So basically, there is this story of Vyasacharya. Okay. So Vyasacharya wanted the written form of the Mahabharata. And so he went to Lord Shiva. So he needed a person who could write a script, or a stenographer needed. So he went to Lord Shiva and said, I'm going to write the whole Mahabharata down. And therefore, I want a person who's fast and accurate. So Lord Shiva told him, you go to Ganesha. So he went to Ganesha, and this is one of the reasons why Ganesha is depicted as only with one tusk. You know that one tusk has been broken because he used the tusk for the writing. So he went to Ganesha and he said that I am going to dictate the Mahabharata, and Lord Shiva said that you will write it down for me. So Ganesha said, fine, that's okay, but I have a condition. So Vyasacharya said, okay, what is the condition? So Ganesha said that you start talking, you start dictating, composing the verses or whatever, and I will start writing, but you cannot stop. Like there is no rest. The moment you stop, the contract is over. I will go away. So I will write only as long as you are dictating non-stop. If at all you stop, then I am done. Then I'll go away. You will have to find somebody else. So Vyasacharya thought a bit and said, okay, fine, I'll do that. But I have a condition also. And what is that condition? Ganesha asked. Vyasacharya said, the condition is that before you actually write anything down, you should make sure that you have understood the meaning. So very nice condition. Okay. So this is one of those slokas. So it is said that Vyasacharya started dictating. And then whenever he needed, to take a breath, he would compose a very difficult sloka. And then Shankara would stop. Ganesha would stop because Ganesha had to understand. And in the time when Ganesha stopped and thought about it and tried to understand it, Vyasacharya would compose the next few thousand slokas in his mind and I take his breath and all that. So that's a story. So that kind of a sloka is called a Granthi sloka. By nature, it is very difficult to understand. So we have already done one like that in the past. Do you remember which was a very difficult sloka to understand in the second chapter? The 16th verse was there. Nasato vidyate bhava, na bhava vidyate sataha. That was one of them. And for those who are used to chanting, you would know karmanya karmaya pasyeda karmani cha karmaya. 4th chapter, 16th verse, 18th verse. The 9th chapter, you would know masthani sarva bhutani na chaham tesho asthitaha na cha masthani bhutani paschime yoga maheshwara. So all these are the Granthi slokas. And this one also, the 69th one, is a Granthi sloka. Now in these two verses, Lord Krishna is talking about the glory of a jnani, the jnani who is established in self-knowledge. And to bring home the glory to all of us, he does a comparison. He is comparing the jnani to the ordinary person, to the ajnani in this verse. What is the essence of this verse? The jnani and the ajnani, the wise man as well as the not so wise man, the ajnanis. What do they face? In front of them is the world. They both face the same world, right? The world does not change for the jnani or the ajnani. It is the same world. The people around the jnani and the ajnani are also the same. They are also not going to change. And therefore, the attempt of Vedanta, the attempt of the Shastram is not to change the world. Do not ever think that Vedanta will attempt to, or that Vedanta will help you to change the people around you, or the world around you. The world will remain the same. The people will remain the same. Vedanta's attempt is to change the way that I look at the world, the way that I respond to situations, the way that I look at people. That is going to be the effort that Vedanta makes to change my responses. Remember that the world is always going to be the same. It is the same corrupt world. It is the same world with a lot of cheating people, a lot of politicians, a lot of lying people, a lot of people who misbehave with you, a lot of people who insult you. Situations which are unpleasant will come in front of you. Situations which are pleasant will come in front of you. There will be honor, there will be dishonor, there will be heat, there will be cold. These situations are the same, which are faced by you as well as by all jnanis also. So all the ajnanis face the same situation. All the ajnanis also face the same situation. What are the situations dictated by? By the prarabdha. So ajnani has got prarabdha. So he has got to go through bad situations and good situations. Jnani's body has also got prarabdha. He also has to go through bad situations and good situations. Jnanam does not destroy prarabdha karma. That you know. And now, if both the ajnani and the jnani live in the same world, facing the same people, facing the same events, facing the same prarabdha, what is the difference in the responses? That is what is being talked about. So, for an example, we can talk about wave buddhi and jalam buddhi. That is wave buddhi and water buddhi. The wave buddhi, the wave has the idea that he is a small, finite being, that he is born, the wave is born, the wave will stay for some time, and the wave will afterwards die afterwards. Wave is born and wave dies, right? Wave come up and they also subside. So this is called wave buddhi. If you are a wave, you will think that I am being born, I will live for some time and I will die. But if you got jalam buddhi, if you got water buddhi, you will know that I am never born. I am here. And the wave is born in me and the wave dies. But you also know that the wave is nothing else but the water. So that is called wave buddhi and jalam buddhi. Wave buddhi is that of a ajnani. Jalam buddhi, the water buddhi, is that of a jnani. Similarly, screen and the movie. If you are the movie, you are ever changing. You will know that I will start and I will end. If you are the screen, you are never changing. Everything is projected onto you, but does not affect you at all. So movie buddhi is the buddhi of the ajnani. Screen buddhi is the buddhi of the jnani. Okay, this is the text of what is being talked about in this verse. Okay, now in this verse, the ajnani is going to be compared to an owl. What is the speciality of the owl?
It can see in the darkness.
It sleeps in the day and
It sleeps in the day.
Yeah, so that's the speciality which is being talked about. The owl sleeps in the day and this owl is awake in the night. And here the ajnani is compared to the owl by Lord Krishna. Okay. And the jnani is compared to the human being. So we are not saying that ajnanis are owls. I mean, for the purpose of this sloka, the comparison is made. Ajnani is an owl, jnani is a human being. So there are two comparisons implicit in this verse. Okay, that both we must remember to be able to understand the verse properly. Which is why Ganesha thought for a few minutes. Okay, he had to unravel the whole verse. And that's why it's Granthi sloka. So one comparison is owl is ajnani, jnani is human being. The other comparison is daytime. Daytime is advaitam. Nighttime is dvaitam. Non-advaitam is nighttime. And what he is saying is that the jnani is awake to the daytime. What was the comparison? Jnani, human being. Daytime was what?
Advaitam.
Advaita. So jnani being awake in the daytime means human being is awake to Advaita. Okay, human being knows Advaita. And similarly, this Jnani, he is asleep to the night, which is Dvaita. Now, the owl, the Ajnani, is the owl. He is asleep in the daytime. So, owl, the Ajnani, is asleep to Advaita, but the owl is awake in the night time. So, the owl is awake to the Dvaita. So, Ajnani sees Advaitam all the time. That's what it means by Jnani is awake in the day. Ajnani sees Advaitam all the time. Whenever he's awake. All the time here means whenever he's awake. So he's awake only the daytime and therefore he sees only Advaitam. He's asleep in the night, therefore he does not see the Dvaitam. But on the other hand, the owl is awake in the night. So he sees only Dvaitam. And he is asleep in the daytime. So he does not see the Advaitam at all. And therefore Jnani is awake to Advaitam but does not see the Dvaitam. Ajnani is awake to Dvaitam but does not see the Advaitam. So that is the essence of the verse. The Jnani sees only Advaitam and he cannot see the Dvaitam at all. The Ajnani sees only Dvaitam and he cannot see the Advaitam at all. This is the essence of the verse. And the world is basically, can be very frightening for a Ajnani. Because for a Ajnani, since he sees only Dvaitam, Ajnani's point of view that everybody in the world is there to trouble me only. That the world is there only to give me trouble. And therefore, for the Ajnani, the world can be very frightening. But for the Jnani, that very same world is Brahman or Ishvara. And therefore we have that very beautiful verse. Sarvam Shivamayam Jagat, Sarvam Vishnumayam Jagat, Sarvam Brahmamayam Jagat. That is from the point of view of the Jnani only. Okay. So this is what is being said. Now look at the sloka. We are saying, Ya Nisha Sarva Bhutana. So Sarva Bhutanam Ya Nisha. Sarva Bhuta means all the ignorant human beings, all the Ajnanis. For all the Ajnanis, Ya Nisha, Ya here refers to Advaitam, the daytime. Ya Nisha, the Advaitic truth is like Nisha, is like darkness, is like the night. And therefore it means that they are asleep to the Advaitam. So for all Ajnanis, Advaitam is like night. That means they are asleep to Advaitam. Nisha is night. So Nisha, what should translate correctly? It's the night they are asleep to. So they are asleep to Advaitam. All Ajnanis are asleep to Advaitam. Tasyam Jagarti Sanyami. Sanyami here is a Jnani, the wise person. But Tasyam means that Advaitam Jagarti Sanyami. That to that Advaitam, the Jnani is Jagarti. He is awake. So Jnani is awake to Advaitam. To which Advaitam all Ajnanis are asleep. And Yasyam Jagarti Bhutani. All the ignorant people are awake to Yasyam is night, is the Dvaitam. All the ignorant people are awake to the Dvaitam. But they are asleep to the Advaitam. They are awake to superficial Nama Rupa, which is Dvaitam. For them, Dvaitam is daytime. For them, they are awake to that Dvaitam. And in that kind of a Dvaitam, what does the Jnani do? Sa Pasyato Nishamunehe. To that plurality, the Jnani sees the night. He sees the darkness. He sees the Dvaitam. So to that Dvaitam, Jnani does not see at all. So net result is, Jnani sees only Advaitam. Ajnani sees only Dvaitam. Jnani sees only immortality everywhere. Ajnani sees only mortality everywhere. So the word Sanyam normally means discipline, but you can break it up to Samyam. So Yama is mastery over the Indriya, sense organs. Sam is the prefix indicating totality or complete mastery. Therefore, samyam is complete mastery, which means mastery over the indriyas along with the jnanam. Therefore, Sanyami is a jnani who has indriya nigraha, mano nigraha plus jnanam. And for such a jnani, immortality is there everywhere. Where is the question of birth? Where is the question of sorrow? While for the ajnani, there is birth, there is death, and therefore there is constant sorrow. This is the first example. The day-night example, or in other words, as I said, the human being, the owl example. And it's a very, very interesting verse. If you look at the extraction from the verse, Krishna is pointing out that the jnani has a certain perception, a certain vision. And therefore, only those who have this kind of a vision can understand a jnani, can understand another jnani. And that's why we say that jnani represents Paramatma Tattvam, not Vyavaharika Tattvam. Jnani represents Paramatma Tattvam. And therefore, only a person who can recognize Paramatma Tattvam can recognize another jnani. Therefore, we say it takes a jnani to recognize another jnani. Unless you are awake to Advaitam, you can never recognize another person who is a jnani. The example of the day-night here has another meaning, that the day and night are exclusive. The day cannot coexist with the night. The night cannot coexist with the day. Which also means that ajnanam cannot coexist with jnanam, and therefore the ajnani cannot understand the jnani until he becomes a jnani. This is also the meaning. Simple meaning here is ajnani sees Dvaitam all the time. For him, Advaita is darkness. He does not perceive it. Jnani sees Advaitam all the time. For him, Dvaitam is darkness. He does not perceive it. And in his commentary on this verse, Shankara gives two more corollaries to be pulled out from this sloka. See, number one, he says, this Dvaita Prapancham is born out of ignorance. Why? Because the truth, Satyam, is what is Advaitam alone. And so, when Vedanta often describes Jagat as Ajnanam or darkness, why? Because Jagat is born because of tamas, because of ignorance only. And therefore, in many scriptures, you will find that the entire Jagat is referred to as Ajnana or darkness. So, Mula Vidya, we say, the very cause of the universe, Mula Avidya, is dark, ignorance only. It's called darkness. It's called Nisha over here. Dvaita Prapancha is Nisha, born out of ignorance. Also, another reason why Jagat is called Nisha is because the jnani does not consider it real and considers it as mithya. He does not attach any value to the mithya Jagat. Therefore, it is called Nisha, darkness which he ignores. Now, you can have a question over here. Right? It can be a Purvapakshi question. We say that Brahman is Chaitanya Swarupam. Brahman is very bright. Then how can Krishna say that to this bright Brahman, Ajnani is blind? Why does he say? Because he said that Ajnani is asleep to Advaita. Advaitam is Brahman. Brahman is consciousness principle, Chaitanya Swarupam, which is described as very bright, self-illuminating. And how can Krishna say that Ajnani is blind to it? The answer is that, take the example of the owl. That owl is blind in the bright sunlight. In the bright sunlight, it is day for everybody else. The sunlight is seen by everybody else. But the owl cannot see the sunlight. It is blind in that sunlight. Similarly, to that light of the Brahma Chaitanyam, the Ajnani is blind. The owl cannot see, that is the catch. The owl cannot see the bright light of the day. It is blind in bright light. Similarly, the Ajnani is blind to the light of Brahma Chaitanya. And for the normal person here refers to the jnani. The normal person, what sadhana does he have to see sunlight? He doesn't have to look any particular direction. There is no specific sadhana required to see the sunlight. That sunlight is self-evident for the person with normal eyes, or the person who is normal, which is not an owl. Similarly, the Brahma Tattvam is self-evident for the jnani. He does not need to do any sadhana. He does not need to look in any particular direction. So when we say that jnani does not perceive Dvaitam, we have to carefully understand. It is not that he does not see the Dvaita Prapancha. It is not that he does not see differences with his physical eyes. He sees, but he dismisses it as mithya. Why do we say that perception of Dvaitam is there, but the understanding of Dvaitam has been dismissed? Because Dvaitam is necessary for transaction in this world. If a jnani cannot see Dvaitam, then he will not see his students also. There will be no classes. So jnani perceives Dvaitam physically, but dismisses the Dvaitam as mithya. And Dvaitam is ajnanam only. Why? Karana gunaha karye anuvartante. Whatever is the characteristics of the cause, that will be there in the product also. And if the cause is ajnanam, that ajnanam will be present in Dvaitam also. Shankara uses the term avidya nishaha, that darkness which is steeped in ignorance. And all the ajnanis are asleep to that Advaita. Okay. Now,
so could you please repeat that once again about the cause?
So there is, it's a Sanskrit term which we very often use. We say that karana gunaha, the characteristics of the karanam, the cause, karye anuvartante. They are present in the karyam, the product also. For example, if you have a 22 carat gold, what is the caratage of the gold necklace? 22 only. Right? Unless you mix something. If you mix something with the original gold, that also becomes the karanam. If you don't, we are presuming that you have 22 carat gold or 18 carat gold, which is called German gold. If you use that to make a bangle, the bangle is not going to be 24 carat. 18 carat gold karanam will give you a 18 carat bangle karyam. Whatever is the characteristics of the karanam, they are also going to be present in the product. That is what he is meaning by the statement. Karana gunaha karya anuvartante. If there is ajnanam in the karanam, if ajnanam is the karanam for Dvaitam, obviously Dvaitam is full of ajnanam. And that's why Shankara says avidya nishaha, the darkness which is ignorance. Okay. Now here, another interesting part of these Shankaracharya Bhashyams is, normally we don't do too much of them in the Moolam class. But if we are using them now to bring about certain understandings. See, it's difficult for most people to study different darshanas and all that separately. And only the full-time sannyasis or full-time academicians will do that. But for all of us who are studying Vedanta, it is necessary for us to have some sort of ideas of what different philosophies, different darshanas say. And Shankara in his commentaries often picks up these kind of views of different darshanas for the purpose of refutation. Okay. And while refuting them, he also gives the original viewpoint and shows us the defects in them. So we understand, through these discussions, we pick up the philosophies prevalent at Shankara's point of time. And we understand what various philosophies had to say. So here, Shankara enters the discussion where he points out that there is a school of thought, there is a philosophy, there is a darshana, which says that moksha is possible only through a combination of jnanam and karma. Okay, what do we say? We say jnana eva kaivalyam. We say, Vedantins say that only through jnanam is moksha possible. But there is a school of thought which says that only jnanam can do nothing. Jnanam has to be mixed with karma to get moksha. And that kind of a viewpoint is called jnana karma samuchchaya. Samuchchaya means combination or a mixture. So this jnana karma samuchchaya, this particular darshanam, philosophy was very prevalent during Shankara's time. And Shankara loses no opportunity in any of his bhashyams to negate jnana karma samuchchaya. In most bhashyams, you will find that at least some place Shankara comes to jnana karma samuchchaya and negates. So here, Shankara uses this verse as an example for that. What has he said in this verse? The jnani sees Advaitam but does not see Dvaitam. The ajnani sees Dvaitam but does not see Advaitam. And Shankara points out, therefore, Krishna is pointing out that the coexistence of Advaitam and Dvaitam is not possible. This is called Shruti Pramanam, right? The very words of the Lord are taken as Pramanam for us. So Krishna himself has said that Jnani can see only Dvaitam, Ajnani can see only, Jnani can see only Advaitam, Ajnani can see only Dvaitam. And therefore from there you have to extract, says Shankara, the corollary that Krishna is indicating that only one of them can exist at one point of time. Yeah, in the mind, that is, in the mind of the Jnani, only Advaitam can exist, Dvaitam cannot exist. In the mind of the Ajnani, only Dvaitam can exist, Advaitam cannot exist. Right? This is what is being pointed out. Correctly speaking, what is you put in one line, Dvaitam and Advaitam are mutually exclusive. They cannot coexist. That is what is being said. Why is it being said? To refute the philosophy which says that jnana karma samuchchaya is a must for moksha. How do these things link up? What does jnana karma samuchchaya have to do with Advaitam and Dvaitam? For that, we have to do a bit of understanding. To do karma, if you remember, there is something called the factors of action. The karta, karma, karan, sampradana, padana, sambandha, adhikarana, sambodhana. Do you remember all that? This is not something which you have done. Basically, it's all been done in your Hindi grammar class in school. What are they called?
Vibhaktis.
Vibhaktis. Karta ne, karma se, karma ko, karan se. I don't remember the whole thing, but it's like that. Karta ne, karma ko, karan se, something. Okay. So basically, these are the factors of action. Without these factors of action, no karma can be done. And these factors of action are called the karikas. So for any karma, you need a karika. So if you have karta and karma and karan and sampradana and locus and all those things, is it Dvaitam or Advaitam?
Dvaitam.
And therefore, you have to understand that for any karma, one needs Dvaitam. Karma cannot be done without Dvaitam. That is the understanding, right? Why? I am a karta doing a karma. Now he says, Shankara says, this is possible avidya avasthayam eva, only in a state of ignorance. I'd say karma is possible only in a state of ignorance. Ignorance here, with all the discussions you understand, ignorance means Dvaitam. So karma is possible only in Dvaitam is what Shankara is saying. Now we have talked about earlier also about states of mind, So I just repeat it. There is a state of mind called the triangular format, which we call the triangular format. This is the state of mind of an Ajnani. In this triangular format, why do we call it triangular format? Because there are three things. There is a Jiva, there is a Jagat, and what is the third thing?
Easwaran.
Ishvara. So there is a Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara. Because there are three things, we call this a triangular format. This format is born out of Ajnana. It is Dvaitam format. Because Jiva, I am there. The Jagat is there in the universe in which I am resident. And there is Ishvara. Therefore, I am a Karta. I am doing a karma. And I am asking Ishvara for the karma phalam of that karma. So this is Karma Kanda. Right? This Karma Kanda, this is Dvaitam. Karma Kanda is for the Ajnani. Because he is asking for phalam from Ishvara. Ishvara is Dvaitam because I and Ishvara are there and the Jagat is there. Now that is called the triangular format. For the Jnani, so that triangular format is what is the name we have given to the state of being in a Karma Kanda situation. In a Jnana Kanda situation, there is no Ishvara. And so we call it a binary format. There is only I and there is the Jagat. I am who? I am the Atma. Jagat is what? Jagat is Anatma. Right? So in this binary format, which is the state of being for a Jnana Kanda, there is only I the Atma and the Anatma, which is Jagat. I the Atma am Akarta or Karta? I the Atma am Akarta, so I cannot do any karma. Anatma is sentient or non-sentient, Jada or conscious?
Jada.
Anatma is Jada. A Jada Vastu cannot do karma. Therefore, I the Atma cannot do karma. A Jada Vastu cannot do karma. Therefore, in Jnana Kanda, karma is not possible. This is the argument. That in triangular format, in the Karma Kanda format, where there is Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara, karma is possible because that is Dvaitam only. In the Jnana Kanda format, where it is Advaitam, there is no Ishvara possible. There is no karma possible. And so his argument is that karma is possible only in Ajnana Avastha, only in a state of ignorance. And when Jnanam comes, Ajnanam goes away. When Jnanam comes, Ajnanam goes away. When Ajnanam goes away, Dvaita remains or not, Dvaita is falsified. And when Dvaita is not present, then the format has changed from triangular format to binary format. And in binary format, karma cannot be performed. As we said, I am Atma, I am Akarta. Anatma is Jagat. It is inert. It cannot do anything. There is no question of karma at all. So in binary format, karma is not possible. In Jnana Kanda, karma is not possible. In Karma Kanda, karma is possible. What is avidya? Avidya is what we call kriya karaka phala bheda rupa. That is kriya, karaka, all those subject, object, instrument, all those things which are what? Karakas of action. So that's what meant by kriya karaka. And the kriya karakas, the karakas of action, the factors of action, they give phalas, different phalas. So phala bheda rupa, different types of phalas are there, phalams are there. And therefore, if karaka is there, karma will come. If the factors of action are present, which means if Dvaitam is present, karma will come. When karma will come, karma phalam will also come. And therefore, in Dvaitam, karma is possible. But the moment that the very foundation of Dvaitam is destroyed, what is the foundation of Dvaitam? Ajnana. The moment that the foundation of Dvaitam is destroyed, karma cannot come. Now to explain that, let me give an example. Supposing you invite me to your house, okay, and I'm not saying you have to invite me, okay, I'm just saying supposing you invite me to your house, and supposing I decide to come. So I come to your house, and there are some nice shiny apples and bananas lying on your dining table. So I am hungry, so I am reaching out to take the apple or the banana. Here, just as I'm about to touch the banana, you say, Raviji, that is only plastic, it's for decoration pieces. will I be able to continue that action?
No.
So the action has dropped. So here, what is the karma hetu? What is the karma hetu means the reason for the action taking place. The very foundation for the action is dependent upon my perceiving the apple as real. So in Vedanta terms, apple sat buddhi. Apple sat buddhi. When I see the apple as real, that is the foundation for my action of reaching out to take the apple. But the moment I know that the apple is not real, the mithyatvam of the apple, which is called apple asad buddhi, the karma is no longer possible. So the karma was possible only when I was not aware of the mithya status of the apple, which is what? Ajnana avastha. And therefore, Shankara said that in Ajnana avastha, the jiva looks upon himself as a jiva. In what? In that triangle. In which triangle? The jiva, jagat, Easwara triangle. And as long as he looks upon himself as the jiva in that triangle, he will have a varna and he will have a ashrama. I am presuming you know all these things. Okay, varna, ashrama, dharma, all that we have done in Tattva Bodha. So he will have a varna, he will have a ashrama. And as long as the jiva has a varna and a ashrama, there are duties prescribed for the varna ashrama. Varna ashrama dharma is there, prescribed by the Veda. All this he has to do. Right? And Shankara says that this karma kanda is a valid pramanam only during that ajnana avastha. So he gives an example. During the dream, your eyes are valid pramanam or not?
No.
No.
In the dream, do you accept, when you are in a dream, do you accept as real whatever you see in the dream? Supposing you see a dream tiger, do you accept? You accept as valid, right? You see a tiger in the dream and you run. And therefore, you run and your heart is beating loudly also. Therefore, in the dream, your dream eyes are valid pramana. But when you wake up, they are no longer valid. Because the dream eyes, whatever the dream eyes have shown you, you don't accept them as valid during your waking state. It's a very important understanding. And therefore, Shankara says that just as in the dream state, your dream eyes are valid pramanam, similarly, if you are going to compare the dream to Ajnana Avastha, then the Karma Kanda has to be compared to the dream eyes. And therefore, during Ajnana Avastha, Karma Kanda is valid pramanam. But for the Jnani, the Jagat has been negated as Adhyasa. For him, the whole Jagat, along with his own body, is mithya only. And where is the question of him doing any karma as a sadhana? So for him, karma kanda is no longer valid at all. It is not a valid pramanam. So only a jiva can be a sadhaka. Remember that. For a seeker, it's only a jiva. The jnani does not have that status at all. The jnani is the object of all the seeking. He is Brahman, which is the object of all the seeking. And therefore, as a jnani, I am not a sadhaka, I am a siddha. It doesn't mean that I cannot perform karma. Okay, that understanding has to be clear. When I say karma is not possible for a jnani, in the state of Advaitam, when karma is not possible, it does not mean the physical performance of the karma. You have to understand what is karma performed for. Right? Karma is performed, any karma is performed for a particular objective. Right? What is the objective of karma kanda?
Phalam.
Fulfillment of our desires.
Objective of karma kanda is to give you some phalam of your desires. And ultimately, you can also say that the objective of the entire karma kanda is to give you chitta shuddhi. Right? But as a jnani, I don't need chitta shuddhi. I am already a jnani. So that phalam is not there for me. And therefore that sadhana is not there for me. I'm not saying the karma is not there for me. The sadhana is not there for me. I can still perform karma, but I do not perform it for acquiring any sadhyam, for acquiring any objective. The very purpose of the karma, which is to acquire phalam or chitta shuddhi, that purpose is no longer present for me as a jnani. Therefore, for me, it is not karma. It is karma abhasa. That is what is meant by saying that from the point of view of a jnani, in an advaitic state, karma is not possible. Only karma abhasa, as if karma is possible. For all practical purposes, this jnani doesn't matter whether he has worn the saffron robes or not. He is a grahastha or not. It doesn't matter. For all practical purposes, he has renounced karma. Because there is no karma that he performs. Only karma abhasa. As if karma. Something which looks like karma is being performed. Why does it look like karma? Because the very purpose of karma is to acquire sadhyam. That has been lost. And therefore all his karma is karma abhasa. He is a karta. And therefore for such a person, Veda has ceased to be a pramana. The entire Veda for a person like this has ceased to be a pramana. Remember that karma kanda enhances the pramata status which we have. And therefore there is a pramanam status for the Veda. But jnana kanda shows you that you are a karta. And therefore jnana kanda removes the pramata status of the jiva. When the pramata status is removed for the jiva, the pramanam status of the Veda is also removed. The pramanam status of the Veda exists only for the pramata. Jnanakanda knocks off the pramata status for you. And therefore the pramanam status is also knocked off. Veda ceases to be a pramanam for the jnani. How do I know whether I am in triangular format or binary format is a good question. It's very simple. Whenever I have a problem, do I run to my puja room asking Easwaran to save me? Or do I recall the teaching and say, all this is mithya? It will affect the anatma, but cannot affect me. That is the acid test for whether you are in triangular or binary format. It doesn't mean that if you are in binary format, you cannot pray. You will still pray. But they are not special prayers asking for favors. They may be prayers asking for the benefit of the world. They may be prayers expressing your gratitude to Easwara for bringing you from triangular format to binary format. A very, very deep, very, very beautiful verse. It's worthwhile going over the verse several times, committing it to memory, understanding all that we have said so far. A very good verse for Nididhyasana. So with this, we'll start today.
Sir, but even the binary format is not really a binary format because one side of it is unreal. It doesn't exist.
Yes, binary format is only for the purpose of saying that there is a triangular format and there is a binary format. In the binary format, the anatma doesn't really exist. It's a dependent entity having no real existence. And therefore, binary format reduces into no format at all. So with this, yeah, please.
Yeah. So when the jnani is teaching, the karma is actually of the disciples and not of the jnani.
No, the karma, there is an action being done by the jnani, right? But there is no objective for that action. It is not, there is no motive for getting purnatvam out of that action. Therefore, it is not really an action. That's why I said karma abhasa. It is as if it's an action. Seemingly an action. Because action is defined as that which is done for the purpose of completing yourself, of acquiring completeness. That is the purpose of an action in Veda. Make you happy, which is what we define as acquiring purnatvam. That motive is present, not there at all. So he is teaching for the benefit of others, but he himself, For him, it doesn't matter whether he has taught or not. His status as a Purna Atma is not changing.
So that means his prarabdha is already over by the time he's reached that status of...
No. It is because of the prarabdha that he is teaching. The prarabdha is applicable to the body-mind complex. Because of that, he is teaching. If prarabdha was over, the body would no longer be there. Prarabdha is the glue which holds the body together.
Okay. So it's for the body's mind complex that the prarabdha is continuing, and because of which he is teaching, but he has no karma phalam.
He has no karma phalam because he is not identified as a karta.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
So Tavishi, did you have any questions? It must be quite overwhelming for you, I know, but still.
No, I mean, this was interesting because I told you I'm into Jungian psychology. It's a lot of what I love, but he drives so much from Hinduism. But I was like, at first kind of thrown aback because owls are always used as like symbols of wisdom. And here it's the exact opposite. But I kind of get it, like, because in Greek mythology, the owl is how Athena can see the truth because she has a blind side. But in this way, we're almost like supposed to willingly ignore the bad truth of the world. So now I kind of get it. Because at first I was like, wait, but owls are like seen as genetically wisdom, maybe like material worldly wisdom.
Yeah, it's always very contextual. So no words will be taken at face value. It's always contextual.
Okay, it makes sense though, even in that context, and how owls are seen as wise, because you're also seeing like, because Athena was all about strategy, right? And you're kind of like ignoring that part of the world where you need a strategy. So yeah, it was really interesting. And you're right, a bit more complex than how it seemed at first. So yeah, I'm still making sense of it.
Yeah, the whole Vedanta is about reducing complexities to the simplicities. Any other questions? Anybody? It's been heavy, I know, but it's one of the most important verses, and you have to, since Ganesha found it a bit difficult, I don't think you should blame yourself for finding it difficult. Okay.
So, Rabiji, in Dvaitam, Jeev and Easwara are seen as different entity. You are different from Easwara.
In Dvaitam, there are three things: I,
so,
the universe, and the creator of the universe.
And in Advaitam,
there is only I, that is Atma, Anatma. That is the binary format. And of course, the understanding is that Anatma is Mithya. And therefore, there is only really Atma. But we still call it binary format.
I have one question about how you can like practically apply this in your everyday life. So would this mean that if like bad things happen to you, if you sort of see it in a way, firstly, that you're just a spectator, like good things happen, bad things will happen. But if your point of view is like, oh, this is just happening so I can evolve in this human experience, is that a good way to detach from it and not be jaded and then start being just negative?
The best way to look at it is that anything happening is a product of my prarabdha. And prarabdha means it is the phalam of actions which I have done in the past. So I am responsible. Anything which happens to me, ultimately, I only am responsible for. And today, if it happens to me, I have to learn something from it. And therefore, that is a very good attitude to have. That whatever happens, good or bad, is fine. As long as I have learned from it, I have not lost. But if I use that for regret and sorrow and resentment, then it has been wasted.
Acharya, what do we learn from the good things that happen to us? Bad things, yes, can help us change. But what do we learn from the good things?
You learn that if you do good things in life, you will have good experiences in life.
Okay.
From bad things, you learn what not to do and what you did wrong and what you should have done correctly. Remember, prarabdha is applicable only at the anatma level. For the jnani, there is no prarabdha at all. Jnani's body has prarabdha. Jnani has no prarabdha. So drawing this distinction between what I should get out of my experience is purely Vyavaharika. But that is necessary for us to understand, because you cannot understand Atma without the Anatma. Atma is not directly accessible. Therefore, Anatma teaching is very essential to understand the Atma. It is like, I've often used the word, like drinking coffee in a disposable cup. You drink the contents, but you don't hold on to the cup, right? So your Anatma is a disposable cup. But without the Anatma, the coffee cannot be filled in.
These everyday practical examples you use make so much sense. Like when you spoke of the banana thing, suddenly I understood. Like, I don't know how you come up with them, but I appreciate those the most. Like,
okay.
Sir,
yeah, Kush.
As you said that whenever something bad happens to you, you should learn from it. So whenever something good happens to us, some good events which makes us emotionally, it is not a disturbance, but yes, there is emotions being triggered.
You
so
enjoy
even that
it.
time,
Nothing wrong in enjoying your good times in life.
Yeah, but you kind of remind yourself even then not to get carried away with it too much.
You can remind yourself this too will not last.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Om Raviji, if one last question is allowed.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I believe the Yoga Sutras by Patanjali, they are based on Dvaita philosophy, right?
The interpretation of, there's a Vyasacharya who wrote the commentary, not our Vyasacharya. That interpretation is highly Dvaitam. And all teachings today are based on that. And that is why it is Dvaitam. But it's possible to interpret Yoga Sutras in a Advaitic manner also.
Okay.
Om Raviji, as you said, this class is kind of to listen to this class a couple of more times to really understand all of this. But one question which I had is not completely relevant to this class is when you were giving this example of when you are in a dream state and you feel that it is all real, right? And is there a possibility that you feel it is real, but at the same time you feel it is a dream? Because I have felt
there
that
are people who call it lucid dreaming, but Vedanta doesn't accept. If it is lucid dreaming, it's an intermediate state, so that it's not relevant for the purpose of the teaching. That's why we use dream as a dream state where your identity as a waker is lost.
But when this happens in the middle of when you're in sleep, and it happens when you're sleeping.
No, I haven't ever had that thing. Either I've been dreaming or I've been waking. So I'm not able to comment on that. But I know people talk about lucid dreaming. I don't know.
Towards the end of the dream is when I kind of become that. Okay, this is the dream.
It's an intermediate state. So there is a talk about that. Vedanta talks about that, but you have to wait till Mandukya Upanishad for that, because it's a very different state of talking.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
You said there was a point of time when you said that how is it possible that the brightness of the day is lost to the Jnani?
Yeah.
Could you just talk about that once, if it's not too late?
I'm not saying brightness of the day. What I'm saying is, how is the owl blind to the brightness? Because the brightness is so bright that everybody sees it, right? That's what the example is. That's a question of which can come up. It's a Purva-Pakshi question. It can come up in your mind. How can Krishna say that the Ajnani is, not awake, or rather is blind to the Advaitam, which is supposed to be very bright? Swarupa Chaitanyam. Consciousness of Brahman is very bright. In fact, in all scriptures, Brahman is referred to as the light of all lights, they say. Jyotisham Jyotihi. So if that is so bright, how is it that you are blind to it? Sorry, come back in.
In this shloka, we are saying the Jnani is not awake to the day.
No, the Jnani is not awake to what is the day for the Ajnani. The difference. There's a contextual meaning there. The day for the Ajnani is Dvaitam. So Jnani is not awake to that. And what is the day for the Jnani is Advaitam. And what, see, the meaning is entirely contextual. What is the day for the Ajnani? That means Dvaitam. To that, the Jnani does not see. So don't take it as day per se. It is day to the Ajnani, which is Dvaitam. To that Dvaitam, the Jnani is blind. But what is the day for the Ajnani, which is Dvaitam, that Jnani cannot see. But what is the day for the Jnani is Advaitam. And to that day, the Ajnani is not awake. That contextual meaning is extremely important. That's why I say every word in the Shastram is contextual. You cannot take a word by itself, And then I'll give an example. The word Aja, what does it mean in our terms? When we say Aja, Brahman
Unborn.
It is unborn, right? But you look at the Sanskrit dictionary, you will find that Aja also means a goat. So contextually, without looking at the context, if you take it and you say Atma is Aja, you can also say Atma is a goat, right? Therefore, the context is very important.
Can I ask just one more thing?
Yeah, last question, please. One more, yeah.
So just you said that we have something to learn from good thing and bad thing. So someone asked the question, what to learn from good thing. So you said that, if we do good things, then good thing will happen. But mostly we don't know whether, as it is because of Prarabdha is playing a big role. So that thing has happened maybe in the past, this life or past lives. So most of the part of that, we don't know that what good thing we did and because of that came. So how can we relate that, yes, I did good things, so this good
because
thing
Shastra
happened?
says so. That's what is meant by Pramanam.
Okay.
Right. When Shastra says that any punyam that you have got, it gives you good experiences. That you have to take for granted as Pramanam. You are a Vaidika. You have to accept that.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, so with this we'll stop. If there are any questions, please feel free to put it in the group. I'll answer one by one.
Yes.
Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti Om Tat Sat Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience. Have a great weekend, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Acharya.